Welcome to video number 2 of a 3-part series as we crochet the Celtic sampler throw. This week we're going to be covering stitches like the wavy cable, the bobble, the large honeycomb cable, as well as the wandering cable. And I'll put a picture of that right here so you can see. For those of you who are ready to continue on with video number 2, let's go ahead and get started. And just as a reminder, if you are looking for extra interaction with other crocheters on this project or have other questions, check out the link for the Facebook page for this project in the video description below. Well, let's get started. So now to begin the wavy section, which is going to start with row 54, we are going to make the wavy cable. And we're going to be sticking with this size I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook for a while. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to work in that very first stitch a wattle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Then we're going to do that again, but we skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then we do that again. Single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet, skip 2 stitches. Now we're going to begin the foundation work for the cables that are going to be worked in this row. And we're going to do this by working 3 front post double crochets. Don't forget you've skipped 2 stitches here for that wattle stitch. So front post treble in 3 stitches, just working around those single crochets. After that, we work a half double worked through the top loops. Okay, so that's similar to what we did way back. Well, actually, it's exactly like what we did working the cabling down here. And then we work 3 more front post double crochets, and now we're going to work a wattle stitch. So we go to the next stitch. Make sure that you're careful not to skip too many stitches. Let me go ahead and back this out and tell you what I'm talking about, because we just used this stitch. It'd be really easy to make a mistake and put our hook into that stitch for the wattle stitch and thereby add stitches to your row that you don't want to. Or we're going to end up with extra stitches at the end, and that would not be good. So make sure, okay, we've used this stitch. We're going to go to the next stitch, and we're going to work a wattle stitch. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, just like that. And this is going to be your repeat. I'll do it again for you. It's going to be 3 front post doubles, a half double, 3 front post doubles, a wattle stitch, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then we're going to do it all over again. 3 front post double crochets, 1 in each of the next 3 stitches, a half double worked into the top loops, which is worked differently than working a post, and then 3 more front post double crochets. And then we work a wattle stitch in that next stitch. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet worked into the same stitch, and then skip 2 stitches, and then we begin the process all over again with the 3 front post doubles, half double, 3 front post doubles, and then the wattle stitch. So go ahead and work that all the way across. So after working that all the way across, we again skip 2 stitches, and then we work 1 additional wattle stitch at the end of the row. Skip 2 stitches, and then we're going to work a single crochet in that turning chain. All right, so let's go ahead and turn for row 55. Starting to get some substance to this throw, so it's starting to get a little bit awkward. All right, so we're going to chain 2, And again, skipping that single crochet and the double crochet, working only in the chain one space of those wattles. Single crochet, chain one, double crochet, which is the wattle stitch in those first two wattle stitches. And you've probably already guessed as what we're going to do with these cables. We're just in the building stage, so we're going to work 3 back post double crochets, 1 in each of those next 3 post stitches, half double in the half double, and then 1 back post double crochet in the next of those 3 stitches. And when you get to the wattle stitch, work a wattle stitch in the chain one space. Okay, so that is going to be your repeat all the way across. When you get to the end, work 1 additional, well, let's go ahead and take a look at that. When you get to the end of the row, you're going to have 1 additional wattle stitch here, and then we're going to work a single crochet in the chain 2 space. So go ahead and work row 55. So this is what your project should look like after 55 rows. Now on row 56, which is the row we're going to start now, we're going to start crossing the cables, and we're going to cross them all the same way so that the cables are all going to be in sync with each other, kind of like a big sine wave. So go ahead, chain 2 at the beginning of this row, work those wattle stitches, and even though you already know how to do a front cross, I'm going to demonstrate it again just as a refresher. We skip the first 3 stitches, half double in that half double, and now we work front post trebles in each of the next 3 stitches. That's the longer crochet stitch. We wrap twice and then complete it as a front post as we complete that treble. Now working in front of those 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble in those 3 stitches that we just skipped. So a lot of these stitches that are in the wider sections on this throw are really front or back cross centric. So once you understand the front cross and the back cross and the way these cables are formed, you're really kind of home free, because they are all based on a variation of using these in different combinations. Okay, so after we work that front cross, we work a wattle stitch in that next chain 1 space of the wattle stitch from the last row, and then we just continue this again all the way across. At the end of the row, you will have 2 wattle stitches and then work a single crochet in the chain 1 space at the end. So go ahead and finish row 56. So this is how row 56 should look, with those front crosses all the way across the row. Now for row 57, we're going to have the back side facing, and again, let's try to get this, there we go, chain 2, and we're going to work in those wattle stitches, working wattle stitches in the chain 1 spaces. Now working back post double crochets. This is the row that follows a cable crossing or the columns crossing. Back post double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, and this is where you work the half double in between that last stitch and next stitch. This is the center of where those columns crossed. Just work a half double crochet in between those 2 stitches, and then 3 more back post double crochets. And we're going to skip this half double crochet, and that kind of mathematically cancels with the one that we added right here for you mathematicians out there. And then we work a wattle stitch into the chain one space, and then we do it all over again. And I'll show you what it looks like with the front side facing. It just helps to further define that cable. So go ahead and work that all the way across. After completing 57 rows, this is what your cabling should look like with the wavy cable section. For row 58, we're going to chain 2. We're going to work wattle stitches in those chain 1 spaces of last row's wattle stitches. Again, there are only 2 at the beginning. And we're only going to work front post double crochets over the next 3 post stitches, half double in the half doubles, and then 3 more front post double crochets, 1 in each of those next 3 stitches. Okay, just like that. And then when you get to the wattle stitch, just work a wattle stitch in the chain 1 space. So go ahead and work that all the way across the row. At the end of row 58, we end by working those 2 wattle stitches and then a single crochet in the turning chain, or the chain 2 from the turning chain. All right, so we're going to go ahead and turn, and for row 59, it's going to be the same. Well, it's going to be similar to row 57. We're just going to work back post double crochets, but first we start with that chain 2, and again the 2 wattle stitches, and then we're just going to work back post double crochets over those post stitches. So we work 3 back post double crochets, 1 in each of the next 3 stitches, half double worked into the top of the half double, and then 3 more back post double crochets. And then when we get to the wattle stitch, we're going to work a wattle stitch in that chain 2 space. I'll go ahead and show it to you from this side. And when you look at the other side, this is again just elongating the cables. All right, so go ahead and finish row 59. At the end of row 59, we end with 2 wattle stitches and a single crochet in the turning chain. So let's go ahead and look at the front side of this. So now for row 60, we're going to cross all the cables, and we're going to cross all of them with a back cross this time. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with that chain 2, and we work the 2 wattle stitches into that chain 1 space. Now for the back cross, it's a little more challenging, but not too bad. So we're going to skip 3 stitches. We're going to half double into that half double crochet. Now we're going to work front post trebles in each of those next 3 stitches. Now we're going to work behind those last 4 stitches, and we're going to front post treble here, here, and here. So coming into the opening from the back side, and then we locate the stitch using those nerve endings in your finger and thumb, and I've located them, and then work a front post treble. That's 1. Come in again, locate that second stitch. Again, let your fingers, as the old TV commercial for phone books, for those of you who know what a phone book used to be, Let your fingers do the walking. Well, let your fingers determine the next stitch. And that's the third one. And then we work that front post treble. So we've done that 3 times. And then we're going to work a wattle stitch worked in that chain 1 space of the next wattle stitch. And so that's what the back cross looks like. I'll go ahead and do this for you one more time. Skip the next 3 stitches, half double crochet in the next stitch, front post treble in each of the next 3 stitches, now working behind those last 4 stitches, that would be the half double and those 3 front post trebles. We're going to front post treble here, here, and then here, coming into the hole right there, and then locating that first stitch and the second stitch, which is right here. And then we have one more, again coming into that same opening here, and then there's the third stitch. All right, and then work that wattle stitch in the chain 1 space of last row's wattle stitch. And so that is what we're doing for this row. So go ahead and work that all the way across for row 60. After turning, we're going to chain 2 to start row 61 with those 2 wattle stitches at the beginning. After that, we are going to work 3 back post double crochets, and this again is the row that's worked after the crossing of the cables. So we have those 3 back post doubles, and this is where we work a half double crochet in between that last stitch and next stitch. That's where those 2 columns are crossed, just a half double in between, and then back post double crochets in each of the next 3 stitches. And we get to the wattle stitch, we work another wattle stitch in that chain 1 space, and this is what it looks like from the back side. From the front side, just going to give you a better view of it here, just like that. So go ahead and work row 61 all the way across the row. This is what you should have after completing 61 rows. Now we're starting to see the cable kind of curving a bit. So now for row 62, I've gone ahead and started with a chain 2 and a wattle stitch in each of those first 2 chain 1 spaces. All right, so now we're going to work front post double crochets in those next 3 stitches, a half double working into the top loops of those half doubles, and then, which is just 1 there, and then front post double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, and then we're going to work a wattle stitch in that next stitch. So this is what you're going to work for row 62, and at the end make sure you work those 2 wattle stitches and a single crochet in the chain 2 space. So after you finish row 62, I have a larger assignment for you. So now for rows 63 through 78, we're going to repeat rows 55 through 62 2 more times. So let's go ahead and take a look at this section after completing 78 rows. So focusing only on the wavy cable, you're going to have 1, 2, 3 waves at this point. Okay, and then after that crossing of the cables, you're going to have worked 2 rows. The last row would be the row 78 with the front post double crochet worked over those post stitches. So let's go ahead for row 79. We are going to turn. So now working row 79, we're going to chain 2. We're going to skip that first single crochet and of course the double of the wattle stitch. We're going to work 2 half doubles into that chain 1 space and then 1 into that single crochet, and again skip that double crochet of the wattle stitch, 2 wattle stitches in the chain 1 space and then 1 in that single crochet. And by doing it this way you end up with a more even edge, just in case you're wondering what the madness is behind the method. Okay, and as you work across these post stitches, we're just going to work back post double crochets just the way we've been doing. And I need to get some more yarn. I'll go ahead and explain the rest of it. Half double worked into the 2 loops of the half double, and then 3 more back post double crochets, and then again when you get to the wattle stitches you're always going to skip the double crochet, 2 half doubles in the chain 1 space and 1 in the single crochet. It's very important as you work over each wattle stitch that you be sure that you have 3 stitches represented here. Okay, and that's pretty much it all the way across the row. There's nothing different other than that. So go ahead and complete row 79. At the end of this row, we're just working in those wattle stitches, and the last 2 wattle stitches we work 2 half doubles and 1 in the chain 1 space and then 1 half double in the single crochet. Do not work in the turning chain because that will add stitches to our stitch count. So now we are going to turn. So now for row 80, we're going to have the front side facing. We are going to work the low front ridge. Row 1 again, I'm still using the size I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. We're going to chain 1. I'm going to skip that first stitch, and we're just going to work in that front loop only, working a slip stitch all the way across. And this is that row that does not really have a bearing on the stitch count. So go ahead and work that all the way across. Now I'm going to change my hook size back to the size H or 8 or 5.00 millimeter crochet hook so we can work these single crochets across, and working only in the remaining loops. We're not working in turning chains. We're just going to work single crochets in that remaining loop all the way across the row. If you have a hard time seeing it, locate where that stitch is and then just kind of go up, and that is the loop. All right, so go ahead and work that all the way across the row. After completing row 81, go ahead and work row 82, which is going to be another row of single crochets using the same hook. Be sure that you're working through both loops of the stitch. It's time for us to turn to work the bobble, but before we do that, let's make sure that we switch from our H hook that we're working with those single crochets and go back up 1 size to the I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. So after turning, we're going to go ahead and start with a chain 3, a double crochet in that very first stitch and in the next stitch. So after those first 2 double crochets of the row, we're going to chain 1, we're going to skip 1 stitch down here, and then we're going to work our bobble. And again, we wrap, insert, pull up a loop. We're going to do that 5 times. So after all the loops, let's go ahead and count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 loops on the hook. Then we wrap and we pull through all of the loops just like that and give it a chain. Then we're going to skip, we're going to actually give it one more chain. Then we're going to skip that next stitch and then work a double crochet in that next stitch just like that. And let's go ahead and do that a couple times more just for a refresher. Then we're going to chain one, skip another stitch here, and then we work another bobble. Okay, so we again wrap, insert, pull up a loop, because I've done that twice. 3, 4, and 5. Yarn over, pull through all 11 loops on the hook, give it a chain to close, and then give it an additional chain for a space. Skip the next stitch, and then a double crochet in that next stitch. Let's do it one more time. Chain one, skip the next stitch, and then we work the 5 loop, or not 5 loop, but we're going to repeat this 5 times before we wrap. Insert, pull up a loop. That's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yarn over, pull through all 11 loops on the hook, give it a chain, and then give it an additional chain, and then again skip the next stitch and then double crochet in that next stitch. And we're going to work this all the way across. When you get to the end, I will work that section with you. At the end of row 83, I've ended with 3 double crochets, 1 in each of the last 3 stitches. And I'm going to go ahead and change back to my size H crochet hook, which is right here. And this is the row as we did before. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to work single crochets in each stitch and chain 1 space across the row. And again, your stitch count should be brought back to 189 single crochets at the end of this row. So go ahead, and I'm just showing you I'm working in the top of the bobble, and then I'm working in the chain 1 space as well, and then the top of that double crochet, and then again single crochet in the chain 1 space, and then the top of the bobble, and then the chain 1 space, etc. So go ahead and work that all the way across the row. At the end of row 84, I've worked a single crochet at the top of the chain 3. So after this, we're going to do another row of single crochet, and we're still using our H hook, and just work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across. Again, you should have 189 stitches. Now we're going to work the 2 rows of the low front ridge again, which is the row with the slip stitch in the front loop only, and then the row followed by a single crochet row. But we need to change our hooks in this, so again, be careful on this. For the row 1 of the low front ridge with the I hook, chain 1, and then starting in that next stitch, we're going to slip stitch, working in the front loop only. And we're going to work slip stitches all the way across. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but this row is decorative surface stitching only. It does not control the stitch count. It's the row that follows that maintains the stitch count. So after working this all the way across, then after that we're going to work the row of single crochets using the smaller H or 8 or 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. Okay, so another way to remember this is whenever you're working straight up single crochets worked in the way we've been working the last few rows, always go back to that H hook. And again, just to let you know, this helps this section to not be too wide in this row. Okay, I'm trying to minimize any change in the width of these throws by changing the hooks. Okay, now to start the honeycomb section, this is row 88. We're going to work a chain 2, and working in that very first stitch, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet for that first wattle stitch. Skip the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to work another wattle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. After that, we are going to skip 2 stitches again, 1, 2, and that next stitch we're going to work a half double. Okay, now we're going to be working the foundation for the columns that we're going to be crossing. And so what we're going to do all the way across until we get to the last 7 stitches, we're going to work 3 front post double crochets, and then a half double crochet worked in that next space, and that half double again is worked through the top loops. And then we're going to do that all the way across the row again to you get to the last 7 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3 front post double crochets, and then working into the top loops, we work a half double crochet in that next stitch. So go ahead and work that all the way across, and I'll show you the last 7 stitches of the row. So at the end of row 88, we have 7 stitches remaining. Go ahead and work a half double crochet in that next stitch, and then we're going to work 2 wattle stitches. So we'll work a single crochet, chain 1, double crochet in that next stitch, and skip 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to work another wattle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then go ahead and work a single crochet in that turning chain. Let's go ahead and get 2 loops of that. Okay, now for row 89, we're going to turn, chain 2, and again working in those wattle stitches, we're going to skip the first stitch and that first double crochet and work a wattle stitch in that first chain 1 space, and in the next one as well. Go ahead and skip over to that next chain 1 space, and this row is going to be very similar. We're just going to working over those post stitches. We're going to skip to those post stitches and work 1, 2, 3 back post double crochets, and then a half double in the next half double, again working through the top loop. So go ahead and work that all the way across until you get to the last 2 stitches, and when you get to the last 2 wattle stitches, we're just going to work wattle stitches in each of those wattle stitches in the chain 1 spaces, and then work a single crochet in the turning chain at the end of the row. So go ahead and work this all the way across. Now for row 90, we are going to cross the cables very much like we did down on those earlier cables. Okay, and let's go ahead and start the row with our chain 2, and I'll work our way to those columns, and again working just those wattle stitches in the chain 1 spaces for those first 2. After those first 2 wattle stitches of the row, it's time for us to cross the first 2 columns, and I'll do a review of this. So we're going to work a back cross to start. So we're going to skip those first 3 stitches and we work a half double crochet in that half double crochet, worked through the top loops, front post treble in each of the next 3 post stitches, after working those first 4 stitches, we're going to work a back cross by working behind and coming in that opening just the way you've done many times before on previous cables. And then we work front post trebles. So the front post, yes, but they're worked behind those last 4 stitches. And you should work 3 of them. Okay, let's take a look what that looks like. So they're crossed just like that. Half double in that next half double. And the next 2 columns are going to be crossed with a front cross, which is the easier of the 2. We're going to skip those first 3 stitches. Half double in the next half double, again work through the top loops, and then front post treble in each of the next 3 stitches. Working in front of those 4 stitches, we can work front post trebles in each of those 3 skipped stitches. After that, we're going to work a half double in that next stitch, and let's go ahead and pause. So you see one is going to cross this direction as a back cross, and then the other this direction as a front cross. So we're going to work that all the way across. So, and don't forget there's a half double, and there's going to be a half double that's going to separate each of these large honeycombs. And so what we'll do again is we will just skip 3. We will work, I'll go ahead and just explain, we'll work a back cross and then a front cross, and don't forget the half double in between, and then again a front cross, I'm sorry, a back cross over these 2, and then these 2 are a front cross. So we're just going to basically alternate what you see here. So back cross, front cross, and just go ahead and work that all the way across the row. At the end of row 90, we come again to the wattle stitches. So go ahead and work those, working wattle stitches into that chain 1 space. And then a single crochet in the turning chain. And that's how row 90 ends. Now before you go on to row 91, just as in any of the rows where you cross the cables, I would double check to make sure that the cables are going the directions you want. So you kind of have like a big V starting here. So as we check these, this is a front cross, a back cross, front cross, back cross, front cross, back cross. They should be opening up. Okay, so definitely make sure that every one of these goes down then up as you go across the row. All right, because it's a lot easier to fix it now than it will be if you have to rip out several rows later. Now for row 91, we will turn and we'll have the back side facing us. Chain 2, and we're going to work those wattle stitches in those chain 1 spaces. And this row is going to be working back post double crochets. So we're going to work 3 back post double crochets, And just like when the cables had been crossed in the earlier work, we work a half double crochet in between that last stitch and next stitch. It's not in the stitch directly, but in between two stitches. And then 3 more back post double crochets. And like I've mentioned before, if you're worried about the math, don't be. Be concerned, but don't worry about this. We added a stitch in here, but we're going to skip a stitch here, so that maintains a constant stitch count. We're going to work a half double in that half double that's in between where these columns cross, and then we do it again. 3 more back post double crochets. Half double in between that last stitch and next stitch. Again, we're in between where these two columns cross, and then I'm going to hide that yarn on the back side. And then we have 3 more back post double crochets. And again, there was a half double here that we're skipping that we don't see, and then we work our half double into that next half double, which again is between the column crossings. So go ahead and work that all the way across for row 91. At the end of row 91, work those 2 wattle stitches and a single crochet in the turning chain. Now I've gone ahead and turned, and let's take a look at what we have here. They're really starting to be formed now. So now for row 92, I'm going to just talk you through the next row or 2. We're going to work wattle stitches in those chain 1 spaces, and then we are going to work front post double crochets over the post stitches, half doubles worked into the top loop of the half doubles, and then front post double crochets again, half double, 3 front post double crochets, half double, etc., all the way across the row. At the end of the row, you'll have 2 wattle stitches and a single crochet in that turning chain. Now with the back side facing, we're basically going to do the same thing, except we are working 3 back post double crochets and half doubles and a half double. So all back posts, 3 back post, half double, 3 back post, half double, etc. And again, at the end of the row, 2 wattle stitches and a single crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and work rows 92 and 93. This is what you should have after completing 93 rows. Now for rows 94 and 95, we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to work front post double crochets over the post stitches, half doubles and half doubles, just like we did the last 2 rows. And then for row 95, we'll work with the back side facing, and we'll work that row of back post double crochets again with the half doubles. Working half doubles where appropriate. So we're just going to continue to grow these columns for 2 additional rows. So go ahead and work rows 94 and 95. This is what those columns should look like, which was the back post double crochet row. Okay, so now for row 96, we are going to cross the cables again. And what we're going to do is we're going to cross them the opposite of what we did down here. So down here below several rows, we worked a back cross. Well, instead, we're going to work a front cross, and this is going to close this top in, and then we're going to work a back cross here. And so that's going to give us a honeycomb shape. And that's what we're going to do all the way across the row. We're going to work a front cross, back cross, front cross, back cross, etc. But let me go ahead and just work the first of these with you, just so that there is total clarity on this row. We're going to chain 2, and again, working only in those chain 1 spaces, work wattle stitches, I'll go ahead and get those out of the way. All right, and so now coming to the cables, we're going to skip the next 3 stitches, half double in that next stitch, and just like you've seen several times before already, front post treble in each of the next 3 stitches. Go ahead and get a little bit more yarn available. And now instead of doing a back cross working in front of those last 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble in those 3 stitches that we just skipped. Half double in that next half double. You can see that coming in already. Skip the next 3 stitches, half double, and again in top loops. And you work those half doubles, front post treble in those next 3 stitches. Each of the next 3 stitches, I should say. All right, now working behind these last 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble here, here, and then here. So coming into that opening, and I locate the stitch again. Remember using the nerve endings in your thumb and fingers to direct where your hook needs to go. Okay, so that was the 2nd stitch here. Here's the 3rd. Right there, I'm locating it, and then we come in again to that opening. All right, and then we do a half double in that next half double, and then we just continue again. Front cross, back cross, of course, half doubles where the half doubles belong. Well, let's stop and take a look. And you see how this closes in like a honeycomb? That's why we call it the large honeycomb. We'll go ahead and work this all the way across the row, and at the end you'll have 2 wattle stitches and then a single crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish row 96. So this is what you should have after completing row 96 where we cross the cables. Now what I want you to do before you go on to row 97 is double check to make sure that you have large honeycombs all the way across the row, because if you don't catch it now, you'll probably catch it several rows later and then have to tear out a lot of work, and I don't want you to have to do that. Okay, for row 97 we're going to turn, and it's very much like row 91. Go ahead and chain 2 and then work wattle stitches in those 2 wattle stitches. All right, so let's go ahead and start working on the cable portion. So what we're going to do is we're going to work 3 back post double crochets. This is working over those post stitches. Half double in between that last stitch and the next stitch, just like we did again on row 91, and then 3 more back post double crochets, half double in the next half double. Now of course there will be one that you're skipping, but it's way back here. You're not going to see it. It's not going to be a problem. Just know that mathematically this all works out. And then for the other side, 3 more back post double crochets, half double in between that last stitch and the next stitch, and then 3 more back post double crochets. And again, skipping the next half double, and then half double into the top loops of the next half double. Okay, when you look at the front, you can see this is starting to build again onto those columns. So go ahead and work row 97 all the way across, and again at the end you'll have those 2 wattle stitches and then a single crochet in the turning chain. This is what we have after completing row 97. Now I'm going to give you 2 rows to work, rows 98 and 99, and I'm going to explain these. We're again just going to be working those 2 wattle stitches at the beginning and at the end of the rows with the appropriate chain 2 at the beginning and then a single crochet in the turning chain at the end. But for row 98, we're just going to work front post double crochets over these post stitches and then half doubles where the half doubles go. Okay. Don't forget the one in between these honeycombs as well. Very important. So go ahead and work front post double crochets in all those post stitches. And then for row 99, we're going to turn. Let's just turn this way with the back side facing us, and we're going to do that again, but instead working back post double crochets over those post stitches, and again half doubles where the half doubles are. So go ahead and work those 2 rows. So this is what we have after completing row 99. Now I'm going to give you another 2 row assignment. This will be for rows 100 and 101. We are going to do that again. We are going to work front post double crochets, and again half doubles where the half doubles. We're just elongating these columns again. And for row 101 with the back side facing, we're going to work back post double crochets in each of those post stitches, and again half doubles in the half doubles. Both rows start with 2 wattle stitches and with 2 wattle stitches and a single crochet in the chain turning chain space. So go ahead and work rows 100 and 101. This is what you should have after 101 rows. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but another honeycomb is developing in between these 2. So this is just kind of a nice little effect with this particular stitch. After completing the 101 rows, I have a small assignment. I'm going to have you work rows 102 through 112, which is a repeat of rows 90, which begins with the cable crossings down here, through rows 100. Okay, if you need support on that, look across the bottom of the screen. I will put a time mark where you can go back and re-watch rows 90 through 100. All right, and so after you do that, make sure that you come back and we will begin with row 113. This is what you should have after completing 112 rows. And as you can see, with these honeycombs, you have 2 honeycombs deep, but they also make honeycombs along the side as well, which is a really fun feature of this particular stitch. Now for row 113, we'll have the back side facing, and this is where we're going to discontinue the cable, but it's going to look very similar to rows we've worked. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a chain 2. We're going to skip that first stitch and the double crochet. We're going to work a half double crochet, actually work 2 half double crochets into that chain 1 space, and then 1 into the single crochet of that wattle stitch. Again, skip the next stitch, which is that double crochet, which is part of the wattle stitch, and into the chain one space, 2 half doubles, and 1 into the single crochet of that wattle stitch. So essentially we've turned the 2 wattle stitches into 6 stitches individually. So after working over those 2 wattle stitches, we have a half double to work in. Don't forget that one. I know that's a little bit of an oddity, but don't forget that stitch. And then when we get to the post stitches, we're going to work 3 back post double crochets. And then again, working through the top loops, a half double in that next stitch. And that's what we're going to work all the way across. Now when you get to the end of the row, you'll have 2 wattle stitches, and again we're going to work 2 half doubles into the chain one space and 1 half double into that single crochet, and then a half double into the turning chain at the end of the row. So at the end of row 113, we work that last half double crochet in that half double crochet, and then we skip that double crochet, 2 half doubles in the chain one space, 1 in that single crochet. Let's do 2 in that chain one space, and then 1 in that single crochet. And we're going to leave the chain one space unworked at the end of this row. So now for row 114, we're actually going to go back to working this series with the low front ridge, row 1, low front ridge, row 2, a row of single crochets, the bobbles, and then 2 more rows of single crochets, low front ridge, etc. So let's go ahead, and I'll go ahead and work this with you. So to start row 114, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip that first stitch, which again is not going to affect the stitch count since we're only working in the top loop. We're just going to work slip stitch in that first loop or front loop all the way across the row. After we do that, we're going to turn, chain 1, and then we're going to work single crochets worked only in that remaining loop all the way across. So go ahead and work rows 1 and 2 of the low front ridge, which is also rows 114 and 115 in this project. Now when starting row 115, remember to switch to the H or 8 or 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. We start this row with a chain 1, and working in the remaining loop, we work single crochets in each of those remaining loops all the way across. And don't forget, after you complete row 115, go ahead and work row 116, which is another row with the single crochets. And when you work row 116, make sure you work through both loops of the stitch. So this is what you should have after completing row 116. So now for row 117, it's time for us to turn to work the bobble. But before we do that, let's make sure that we switch from our H hook that we're working with those single crochets and go back up one size to the I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. So after turning, we're going to go ahead and start with a chain 3. And let's take a look at that bobble that we started several rows before this. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like, and that's what we're going to be working. So we're going to go ahead and work a double crochet in that very first stitch and in the next stitch. So after those first 2 double crochets of the row, we're going to chain 1 we're going to skip one stitch down here, and then we're going to work our bobble. And again, we wrap, insert, pull up a loop. We're going to do that 5 times. So after all the loops, let's go ahead and count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 loops on the hook. Then we wrap and we pull through all of the loops just like that and give it a chain. Then we're going to skip, we're going to actually give it one more chain. Then we're going to skip that next stitch and then work a double crochet in that next stitch, just like that. And let's go ahead and do that a couple times more just for a refresher. Then we're going to chain 1, skip another stitch here, and then we work another bobble. Okay, so we again wrap, insert, pull up a loop, because I've done that twice. 3, 4, and 5. Yarn over, pull through all 11 loops on the hook, give it a chain to close, and then give it an additional chain for a space. Skip the next stitch, and then a double crochet in that next stitch. Let's do it one more time. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, and then we work the 5 loop, or not 5 loop, but we're going to repeat this 5 times before we wrap, insert, pull up a loop. That's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yarn over, pull through all 11 loops on the hook, give it a chain, and then give it an additional chain, and then again skip the next stitch and then double crochet in that next stitch. And we're going to work this all the way across. When you get to the end, I will work that section with you. At the end of row 117, I ended with double crochets in the last 3 stitches. So let's go ahead now and turn, and I'm going to go ahead and change back to my size H crochet hook, which is right here. And this is the row as we did before. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to work single crochets in each stitch and chain 1 space across the row. And again, your stitch count should be brought back to 189 single crochets at the end of this row. So go ahead, and I'm just showing you, I'm working in the top of the bobble, and then I'm working in the chain 1 space as well, and then the top of that double crochet, and then again single crochet in the chain 1 space, and then the top of the bobble, and then the chain 1 space, etc. So go ahead and work that all the way across the row. At the end of row 118, I've gone ahead and worked a single crochet in the top of the chain 3. So after this, we're going to do another row of single crochet. This is going to be for row 119. So go ahead and turn, and we're still using our H hook, and just work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across. Again, you should have 189 stitches. This is what you should have after completing row 119. Now we're going to work the 2 rows of the low front ridge again, which is the row with the slip stitch in the front loop only, and then the row followed by a single crochet row. But we need to change our hooks in this, so again, be careful on this. For the row 1 of the low front ridge, which is also row 120 in the project, I'll start you on this with the I hook, chain 1, and then starting in that next stitch, we're going to slip stitch, working in the front loop only, and we're going to work slip stitches all the way across. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but this row is decorative surface stitching only. It does not control the stitch count. It's the row that follows that maintains the stitch count. And then after that, we're going to work the row of single crochets, which will be row 121, using the smaller H or 8 or 5.00 millimeter crochet hook. Okay, so another way to remember this is whenever you're working straight up single crochets, worked in the way we've been working the last few rows, always go back to that H hook. And again, just to let you know, this helps this section to not be too wide in the throw. Okay, I'm trying to minimize any change in the width of these throws by changing the hooks. So go ahead and work rows 120 and 121. This is what you should have after completing 121 rows. Now it's time for us to work on the wandering cable section of the throw, and we're going to go ahead and change back from the H hook to the I or 9 or 5.50 crochet. All right, so we are going to chain 2, and starting in that very first stitch, we're going to work a waddle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, worked into the same space, skip the next 2 stitches, and then another waddle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2. Now we're going to begin in the next stitch with a front post double crochet, and we're going to make a similar foundation to what we've done with some of the other stitches. So we're going to work 3 front post double crochets, 1, 2, 3, just like that, and then a half double worked into the next stitch. And we're going to do that 2 more times. 3 front post double crochets, and then a half double worked into the top loops of that next stitch. Okay, so we're going to work this until we have 4 columns, but let me point out a difference. When we worked the honeycombs, we had half double crochets on both sides. We started instead with this just 3 front posts, and then the half double, 3 front post, a half double. Then we're going to do 3 more front post double crochets, followed by a half double, and then we work 3 front post double crochets. So what I wanted to show you here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns with the 3 front posts, but notice that we're going to have a waddle stitch on each side of this. We are not going to have a half double here or a half double there. Instead, this is going to be a waddle stitch. So I just wanted to be very clear about that. Okay, and then after you work that waddle stitch, we skip 2 stitches, and then we start it all over again with 3 front post double crochets, and then a half double worked into the top loops of that next stitch. And we just continue on making the 4 columns. All right, so go ahead and work this across the row, and I will show you how the row ends. At the end of the row, you should have 6 stitches left plus the turning chain, and we're going to work 2 waddle stitches over that space, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, skip 2 stitches, and then another waddle stitch, skip 2 stitches, and then we're going to use that turning chain to work our last single crochet. All right, so now we're going to turn to have the back side facing us, And we start row 123 with a chain 2 and working only in the chain 1 space of those wattle stitches, just like we've done before. We work wattle stitches and the second wattle stitch. And then as we work across the post stitches, just like we've done in the past with the other cable foundations, we're going to work 3 back post double crochets, a half double in the half double, working the top loops, and then again 3 more back post double crochets, and then again half double in the half double. And let me just go ahead and talk the rest of this out. 3 back post double crochets, a half double, 3 back post double crochets, and then working in the chain 1 space we work a wattle stitch. And that's what you're going to work all the way across the row. And again, we're just building these individual columns to be crossed in another unique way. At the end of row 123, we're going to work wattle stitches in the last 2 chain 1 space of the wattle stitch from the previous row. Okay, and then we're going to work a single crochet into the turning chain. Let's go ahead and turn. So this is what you're going to have after completing 123 rows. So you'll see the 4 columns, and each of these is going to form one of our wandering cables. So let me go ahead and explain what we're going to do, and then I'll demonstrate it. We're going to continue to grow this column, which is the first of the 4 columns, and the 4th of the 4 columns. And the 2 columns in the middle, the second and the third column, we're going to cross with a front cross. All of the crossings in this wandering cable are going to be front crosses. I think you're going to enjoy that. All right, so we're going to start row 124 with a chain 2 and work wattle stitches in those first 2 chain 1 spaces. And here's the second wattle stitch. So like I said before, we're going to work 3 front post double crochets over this first column. Half double worked into the half double. And the second and third column we are going to cross. So we're going to skip the next 3 stitches, half double into that next stitch. I know you've seen this before, but I just want to be clear. Front post treble in each of the next 3 stitches. Working in front of those last 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble here, here, and then here. So start with the one furthest to the right or to the left if you're watching the left-handed version. And then the second stitch, again, front post treble, and the third. After that, half double, and that next half double working through the top loops. And then the last column, or the 4th column in this motif, 3 front post double crochets. And then for the wattle stitch, we work a wattle stitch in that chain 1 space, and then we do it again, 3 front post double crochets, then we cross these 2 columns with a front cross, again working half doubles in the half doubles, and then 3 front post doubles. And let's go ahead, and this is what each section should look like. So go ahead and work this all the way across. At the end, you're going to end with 2 wattle stitches and a single crochet in the turning chain. So just to be clear, you should have 10 sets of this 4-post cabling system across, and then we end with the 2 wattle stitches and a single crochet in the turning chain. All right, so we're going to turn now. This is for row 125. I'm going to chain 2 and work those wattle stitches, working in the chain 1 space. And the next row may look vaguely familiar or very similar to what we've already done with some of the other cables. We're going to work 3 back post double crochets, a half double worked into that next half double, and then working over the crossed cable, we just work the next 3 back post double crochets, we're going to work a half double in between that last stitch and next stitch. This is where the 2 columns crossed, and again 3 more back post double crochets, we're going to skip this half double in the next half double, again working through the top loops, and then 3 more back post double crochets, and then after that we work our wattle stitch in between this cabling system, and then we do it all over again. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the back side to see how this is changing and growing. So go ahead and work that all the way across. At the end of the row, again, you'll have 2 wattle stitches at the end and then a single crochet worked into the turning chain. So this is what the cabling system should look like after completing 125 rows. Now I'm going to give you a 2-row assignment for row 126. We're going to continue with the wattle stitches as usual, and then we're going to work front post double crochets over all the post stitches, and then of course the half doubles in between, as we've been doing all along. And then for row 127, when you have the back side facing, we're going to work back post double crochets over the cable section, and again half doubles where the half doubles belong, and the wattle stitches as well. So go ahead and work those next 2 rows. This is what you should have after completing row 127. Now for row 128, it's going to be the same as row 124 where we crossed the center cable. So we'll work those wattle stitches as usual, front post double crochets over the 1st and the 4th column, and then we're going to cross these 2 columns again with a front cross just like we did here, and again maintaining those half doubles where necessary. Okay, so go ahead and work row 128, and don't forget at the end you'll have 2 wattle stitches and a single crochet in the turning chain. This is what your cable should look like after row 128. Now for row 129, we're going to have the back side facing. We just continue again with the wattle stitches. We're going to work back post double crochets over the post stitches, half doubles into half doubles, and when you get to the cable that's been crossed just like before, 3 back post double crochets, a half double in between that last stitch and next stitch, which again is the center where the columns were crossed, and then 3 more back post double crochets. Skip the next half double in the next one, 3 back post double crochets, and then again we work the wattle stitch in the chain 1 space. So go ahead and work row 129. So this is what you should have after completing row 129. Now for row 130, I'm going to talk you through this and then I will do it with you as well. What we're going to do is we're going to cross this column and this column with a front cross, and then the third and the fourth columns we're going to cross with a front cross as well, thereby having our wandering cables. Okay, so I'll go ahead and start with our chain 2 and our 2 wattle stitches. All right, now we're going to cross these 2 columns. We start by skipping the next 3 stitches, half double in that next half double, front post treble in the next 3 stitches, now working in front of those last 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble into 3 stitches that we skipped, starting with the one that's furthest away. Okay, just like that. Half double in that next half double. Now we're going to do that again. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, half double in that next half double, and I know that looks kind of strange. Front post treble in the next 3 stitches. Working in front of those last 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble into 3 stitches that we just skipped. Again, starting with the one furthest away. After we do that, we're going to work a wattle stitch in the next wattle stitch, and then we do it all over again. So this is what it should look like after you complete the cabling sequence here. So you have 2 front crosses, and don't forget those half doubles in between. So go ahead and work this all the way across and work the 2 wattle stitches at the end and a single crochet once again in the chain 2 turning chain. So this is how your project should look after completing 130 rows, taking particular note of the crosses here, crossing of these columns to form the cables. All right, so now we're going to turn and we're going to work row 131. Let me just go ahead and talk you through this. Chain 2, wattle stitch, worked in those chain 1 spaces. And then as we work across, we're going to do 3 back post double crochets, a half double in between that last stitch and next stitch, which is where the 2 columns crossed, 3 more back post double crochets. We're going to skip this half double, work a half double in this stitch, back post over 3 more, back post double crochets, half double in between those last stitch and the next stitch, and then 3 more back post double crochets. Skip that half double, and then we work a wattle stitch. So we're going to work that all the way across, working those back post double crochets over the columns. Make sure that you get all of them as you go across. All right. And then after you complete row 131, I'm going to have you just do 2 additional rows as well. You're just going to work front post double crochets over the stitches when the front side is facing, and of course those half doubles in between. And row 133 is going to be working back post double crochets. So we're just going to be growing the columns after row 131. So go ahead and work row 131, and then work row 132 with the front post double crochets, and then 133 with the back post double crochets. This is what you should have after completing 133 rows. Let's take a good look at the cabling section. Now for row 134, it's going to be the same as what we did back here on row 130. So what we're going to do is chain 2 over here, 2 wattle stitches, and then we're going to cross with the front cross here. That's where we work half double, front post trebles in each of these stitches. Working in front of those 4 stitches, we front post treble here, here, and here, and then we do a half double, and then we do another front cross right here, and then we're going to work wattle stitches in between those. So again, just like what we did at row 130. So go ahead and work row 134, crossing all of these cables again. So this is what the cabling section should look like after completing 134 rows. Now for row 135, we're going to be working along the back side. You will do the chain 2, wattle stitch in those chain 1 spaces. And this is the row where we work 3 back post double crochets, a half double in between that last stitch and next stitch in the center where those 2 columns cross, 3 more back post, skip the half double in the top loops of this half double, 3 more back post double crochets, half double in between that last stitch and next stitch, and then 3 more back post double crochets, again skipping this half double, and then working in the wattle stitch. And that's pretty much what we're going to be doing all the way across. This is also a repeat of row 131. So go ahead and work row 135. So this is what you should have after completing row 135. Let me try to give you a very good view of this wandering cable that we're working. All right, now for this row, I'm going to go ahead and work this with you. This is row 136, and again starting with a chain 2 and then wattle stitches worked in each of those chain 1 spaces. All right, so now when we get to the cabling, what we're going to do is we're going to grow this column and this column. That'd be the first and the fourth, and then we're going to cross the second and the third, or the center, and we're going to go back to what looks like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and we are going to work 3 front post double crochets, and then we're going to work a half double worked into the loops of the half double. And now this is where we're going to cross these 2 center columns. We're going to work that half double first off, and after I get some more yarn here, I'm going to work front post trebles in the next 3 post stitches. And then working in front of those last 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble here, here, and here. Again, just a front cross. Pull that off of there. And then the third one. Okay, just like that. Half double in that next half double, and then we're going to work 3 front post double crochets. Remember, we just use the trebles when we're crossing the cables, and then the post double crochets for just about everything else. And then after that, we work our wattle stitch, which is in between these cables. All right. So this is what we're going to work all the way across. Go ahead and do that, and at the end you have those 2 wattle stitches and a single crochet in the turning chain as usual. So this is what you should have after completing 136 rows. Again, this column and this column are growing, and the 2 were crossed in the center, which is the beginning of forming what we have down here. So basically what we're going to do from this point is make another cable, just like that in the center. So for row 137, we're going to work with the back side facing. And this is the row where we just work the chain 2, waddle stitch, and then 3 back post, half double in the half double space, 3 more back post, double crochets, a half double in between that last stitch and next stitch, which is the center of where the columns are crossed, 3 more back post, skip this half double in the next half double, and then 3 more back post double crochets, and then a waddle stitch in the chain 1 space. And that's what we're going to work all the way across. And of course, at the end of the row, you're going to have 2 waddle stitches and a single crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and work row 137. This is what you should have after completing 137 rows. Now for row 138, we are going to continue to grow the columns by working front post double crochets over the post stitches, and don't forget those half doubles in between. This is what you should have after completing 138 rows. Now for row 139, we're going to have the back side facing, and you're just going to continue growing these columns with back post double crochets, half doubles as usual, as well as the waddle stitch, etc. After you complete that row, that's row 139, row 140 and row 141 are going to be exactly what you did back here on row 136, and I'll explain that. So what's going to happen there is we're going to just keep working front post double crochets on these 2 outer columns, and then this cable is going to cross again. Okay? And this is again is a front cross. If you need detailed instructions still on that, look at the bottom of the screen, and I'll put a time mark where row 136 begins, and that'll take you right through 137 as well. Okay? Row 141, which is the same as row 137, you're going to have the back side facing, and you're going to be working back post double crochets, and this is the row where you work a half double in between where those 2 columns cross for the center. Okay, so go ahead and do those 3 rows. Here are your wandering cables after completing 141 rows. So let me give you a view of it here. So here you had the center cable, and then it morphed, I guess you could say, or wandered into the 2 cables, and then back to the single cable. So now for row 142, we're just going to work the row where we work front post double crochets over all of the post stitches, and of course the half doubles where the half doubles go, and the waddle stitches in the waddle stitches, and the row begins just like we've been doing, chain 2 and then 2 waddle stitches. So go ahead and work row 142. Here are our cables after completing 142 rows. So now for row 143, we're going to start with a chain 2. We're going to skip that first single crochet, and we're also going to skip the first double crochet of that waddle stitch. In the chain 1 space, we're going to work 2 double crochets and then 1 in the next single crochet, which again is part of that first waddle stitch. So we're turning every waddle stitch into 3 stitches like this. So we're going to skip that next double crochet, 2 double crochets in that chain 1 space, and then 1 in the single crochet. Now as you go across the rest of these stitches, we're just going to work them as we normally would. We're going to work back post double crochets over those post stitches, half double in the half doubles, working through the top loops. Okay, and then so the only difference for this row is that when you get to the waddle stitch, you skip the double crochet, work 2 double crochets into the chain 1 space and a double crochet into the single crochet. Now at the end of this row, let me go ahead and show that to you. So when you get to the end of this row, we're going to again work 3 double crochets for every wattle stitch, working them 2 in the chain 1 space and then 1 in the single crochet, 2 in the chain 1 space and 1 in the single crochet of that wattle stitch. Do not work in the turning chain, okay? And that's how we're going to complete row 143. This is what that wandering cable should look like after completing row 143. So you can see how the cable that we just completed up here matches where we started. Well, thanks for joining me in video number 2 of the Celtic Sampler Throw. Just as a reminder, if you have additional questions, please check out that Facebook page in the video description below, or you can always contact me at my email, which is also in the video description. Well, we'll see you in video number 3, which will be our final installment with this crochet along. God bless. Bye-bye.